A look at the impact of Hurricane Irma on individual countries and territories in the Caribbean. As of Saturday, Anguilla, one death was reported in the British territory of Anguilla, and there was widespread property and infrastructure damage. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency says 90% of government buildings and business structures were damaged, as well as 90% of the electricity infrastructure. The airport runway has been cleared of debris. The British government was coordinating recovery efforts. Antigua and Barbuda. Irma damaged or destroyed an estimated 90% of the structures on the island of Barbuda, home to about 1,400 people. A 2-year-old child was swept to his death after the storm ripped the roof off the family's house. Barbados. A 16-year-old junior professional surfer in Barbados died Tuesday while surfing large swells generated by Hurricane Irma. Xander Venezia was surfing on the island's east coast when he drowned as the storm churned several hundred miles away, according to family friend and surfing instructor Alan Burke. British Virgin Islands. 4 deaths were reported in the British territory, according to the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. The storm caused major damage to the largest and most populated island of Tortola, where video of the hillside capital, Road Town, showed the scattered wreckage of buildings and piles of debris. The emergency agency said there was a critical need for security amid instances of looting. Billionaire entrepreneur Richard Branson, who rode out the storm at his home on private Necker Island, said entire houses disappeared and the area was completely and utterly devastated. Cuba. There were no reports of deaths or injuries after heavy rain and winds from Hurricane Irma lashed northeastern Cuba. Seawater surged 3 blocks inland in the town of Cabarian, and a provincial museum in the town was left in ruins. Officials said they had evacuated 880 people from the town and 50,000 people in the immediate area were without power. Puerto Rico. About 1 million people were without power in Puerto Rico, which was spared a direct hit as Irma passed to the north. Nearly half the territory's hospitals were relying on generators. No injuries were reported. St. Martin and St. Bart's. French authorities reported 9 dead in French St. Martin and St. Bart's. 2 dead were reported on Dutch St. Martin, which shares an island with St. Martin. Property and infrastructure damage were extensive, totaling more than $1.2 billion, euros $1.44 billion alone on St. Bart's and French St. Martin, according to an estimate by France's public insurance agency. The Dutch government estimates 70% of houses on St. Martin were badly damaged or destroyed, leaving many of the 40,000 residents reliant on public shelters. Authorities fear a housing shortage and a loss of the upcoming tourist season, which would devastate the economy in the months ahead. Turks and Caicos. The hurricane caused extensive flooding in the Turks and Caicos Islands, with the water reaching above the waist in some areas. Homes were damaged or destroyed across the most populated island, Providenciales, and a community known as Blue Hill on the northwestern side is gone, Minister of Infrastructure Goldray Ewing said. U.S. Virgin Islands. 4 deaths were reported in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and officials on St. Thomas said they expected to find more bodies as crews struggled to reopen roads and restore power. The hospital on St. Thomas was destroyed and the harbor was in ruins, along with hundreds of homes and dozens of businesses. Adrienne Reinhardt said houses in her neighborhood were leveled, and many people had a week's worth of food and water. "Let people know we need food, we need supplies to survive," she said.